one more tiny shout out. I actually met Diecast there from Radio Free Cybertron, and I took a picture with him, so I'll shove his picture in with him. He was kind enough to let me take a picture with him, and we had a quick little conversation of him driving on up to TFcon, and now has an 8-hour drive back home. So, and then he has to work on Monday, and he's at TFcon again still tomorrow for Sunday. So he's got a lot of a lot of work ahead of him. He was working at the Chosen Prime booth, and he does a lot of videos for them of their stuff. So that's nice. Check Radio Free Cybertron's link out in the description below, and stay tuned for the Ian James Corlett and Jim Byrnes Beast Wars panel.
I did ask if you wanted opening statements of any kind.
What, are we in court?
Yes.
Not that I've spent a lot of time there. I'm just saying.
Excellent. All right. Well, we can have a line start. Yes, you may record this. Yes, you may take pictures. My only request is to keep these lanes, the side lanes especially, as empty as possible for fire hazard reasons. If I ask you to find a seat, please find a seat. Thank you.
You know, I will start. I didn't realize what was going on. I will start by saying thanks for coming. This show is awesome, and Jim, you can jump in whenever you want. I don't do a lot of these. This is I've done a grand total, including this show, of 3 Transformers conventions. So it's really quite a thrill for me to be here and see all the fans again, and it's always unbelievable how passionate you guys are for a show that we did so long ago. And it's awesome.
What my wife asked me, she said, how long ago did you do this? I'm like, 20 years.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And so it really is amazing that you guys have supported us for that long.
Yeah, and I think my one of the reasons I've sort of gotten back into doing some of these conventions is because of my rotten daughter, who is, if you some may know, some may not, she's the voice of Sweetie Belle in My Little Pony. So now that show was completely born in the the internet era that we live in today, and it's giant. I mean, BronyCon was just in Baltimore, and there was 10,000 plus attendees strictly for one show. And she gets invited to these shows, and she has to have a parent go along with her. So I show up, and then it's kind of like this twofer. People go, "What? You're what?" And I realized what I was missing. So that's one of the reasons I'm here, and I love it. And thanks again. So that's all.
I just did one, My Little Pony.
Have you done it? Yeah.
Yeah, I did one recently. I played sort of the Fat Elvis.
Oh, no.
It was more like Jerry Flowers in Mouth of the South.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, I did one. I think it was a Mercy casting, frankly. Oh, well, you better. He keeps hanging around. He gives her rides.
Give him the line.
Yeah. So that's enough from me, from us. Thanks, you guys. You're awesome. And go.
What do you say?
Hey there, it's wonderful to see both of you again. I've met both of you at BotCon in the States previously. Long time ago now, that was. Yeah. I was going to ask what other projects you two have been up to lately.
Well, I've got a weekly radio show in Vancouver, but it streams online. It's called The Blues with Mr. Byrnes, and it's on every Saturday and Sunday, 6 to 8 Pacific time, so that'd be 9 to 11 here or whatever. And I did some episodes of the Romeo section for CBC. It's a new crime drama, or sort of a spy drama. I did about 5 episodes of that. This summer, mainly, last weekend I was at the Vancouver Island Music Festival with John Prime. Next weekend we're at the Canmore Music Festival. And then Edmonton Folk Festival at the beginning of August. So, that's how I really make my living as a musician these days, mostly. And so that's what my summer has really been busy with. And I've been doing some writing, both a memoir, and my daughter is in the film business as well, and she's trying to put together a script for a feature, and I've been helping her with that. And Meanwhile, every day I get a little older.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. You and me both. Fortunately, I still sound like a teenager, so as long as you don't see me, I'm A-okay. I've recently, over the last year, I've been spending a lot more time in Los Angeles and working there. I'm in a new Disney series for young kids. Actually, I don't know if you'd call it preschool, but it's called Vampirina. And I play Chef Remy Bones, this skeleton chef who sings and dances. And, it's a really fun show. And this is an exclusive. I am also just recently finished an episode of Transformers: Robots in Disguise. So I thought you guys might like to hear that. And I can't tell you anything more than that.
Thank you. Oh, and I loved you on Dinosaur Train, by the way, Ian.
Oh, so do I. I love that show. My kids are in that show too.
Okay.
Hey, you!
Yeah.
You look like a cheetah? Is that what that is?
Of course.
Some kind of character from a...
Cheetor, yeah.
Oh, Cheetor, right.
Yeah. Anyways, my question for you, Ian, is you had some time to think about this.
I know.
I read Cheetor and Tigatron had a big cat, little cat relationship, but I read a few years ago that Tigatron was never supposed to be written into the show, and it was supposed to be a character called Wolfbang who transformed into a wolf. How different do you think this relationship would have been had they used Wolfbang instead of Tigatron?
Are you now, or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party?
Well, I have a very, very deep, well thought out answer for that question. And it's 2 words. Very different. Sorry. But thanks for the question. Why are you banging and popping?
Hello.
No. New at this.
Were there any hilarious moments with you two while doing work on Beast Wars, or in general?
Well, Jim and I have worked on a lot of stuff together. I can't remember anything hilarious from Beast Wars, because usually that was Gary, because I stood right beside him, and there's just trouble. It's just trouble. Like anyone in Gary, but especially me and Gary, it's just trouble. So, but I do remember something. I'm trying to remember. Mostly it wasn't all that funny for you, because I think you got really mad. It was me and Phil Hayes.
Okay, well, Hayes, if he's...
Yeah, exactly, I know. So Phil Hayes and I, we were doing another show. It was a baseball show.
Oh, yeah, right, sure, yeah.
And
The minor leagues.
The minor leagues, yeah. The Birds, the minor leagues. Anyway, it was a really fun show. And at that moment in time, there was a commercial, a radio commercial running that Jim was singing for our local baseball team, which was called the Vancouver Canadians. And do you remember it? Do you remember the song? I'm not putting you on the spot, but but I remember it's this kind of bluesy thing, and it's a guy waxing poetic about how baseball is wonderful, and I remember sunny days. I'm not trying to sound like Jim, but he's singing away, and there was this one line that always stuck out, and it just stuck in my craw. It was, and I love baseball, Canadian baseball, playing with my mitt. And I always went, what? That just felt so like a thud. Yeah, it felt like a thud. So Phil Hayes and I, in every single break while we were recording this show, would go playing with my mitt. And especially after Jim's lines. And first of all, Jim was like this for about 5 of them. And then it got to be, okay, that's it. And there was one point where he just, okay, that's it. Jim's mad. Okay, that's it. And I don't want to make Jim mad.
Speaking of baseball, if you watch
The Miller Lite ads, that's me asking folks.
Is it right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Is Miller Lite the best tasting light beer? There's only one way to find out.
Love those commercials.
Yeah. Particularly when they get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Get into another cycle.
Yes. More cycles.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Question for. What would you guys say your biggest highlight so far?
In life?
Anything.
Jeez. My highlight is huge. Just working in voiceover at this level is a giant highlight. I mean, I still remember the first time I walked into a studio to audition for something. And it was just, wow, this is amazing. I just love it. And then, you know, as things kind of developed and we got into some shows that resonated, and that actually brings me to another point. Like, had the internet been really happening when Beast Wars was popular, I mean, the internet was around, but it was really ugly and really clunky, and it wasn't, like, not everyone had it in their house. But I can't imagine how huge it would be, because I mean, it's still so vibrant and the fan base is giant. But I just often go, wow, I wonder what that would have been like. You know, we would have been doing this constantly.
Yeah.
It'd be awesome. So
Back when I was doing, there was a show I did, it was on CBS television series, Wise Guy.
oh, I love that show.
And got to work, you know, Jerry Lewis was on it, and Kevin Spacey, and all these people. But there was an actor. But there was an actor, Leo V. Gordon, who's a character actor. But he was the only guy I've ever had my picture taken on set with, because I remember seeing, like, when I was a little kid watching The Lone Ranger, he was like one of these bad guys in all the old westerns, you know. And of all the people, that to me, being on that set that day, God, man, I'm making a movie here.
Yeah.
Just that moment of realization that here's this guy that I used to sit, you know, watching, you know, when I was 10 years old, watching The Lone Ranger, and here I am working with him. I thought that was pretty cool. And working with some of the other guys. But I got a big thrill recently for me. My daughter is in this business as well, and she's working in production design, but she's also a writer and director. And she just won the Women in Film Award for the best short drama, which she
You know, that's a really good point. Like, watching your kids develop in the business. I mean, it doesn't matter what business it is, but you know, in our case, it happens to be this business. My son retired at 14 because his voice changed. So forced retirement, kind of. But Claire, my daughter, continues on, and she's just killing it. And every time I see her working, I just go, wow, that's pretty awesome.
Oh, it's incredible. That's such a sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kim.
Hey, Ian, I was just wondering, because I was earlier on this month, I was rewatching Beast Wars, and one thing I immediately noticed was Cheetor's name was being pronounced Cheater. What was up with that? That was strange.
Well, because we're Canadian, right? It is, well, it's Cheetor. I remember that being a thing. Like, someone noticed at some point, you know, we're kind of getting lazy with his pronunciation. I'm like, what? Because I don't think I never said it myself, so it's everyone else's fault. But I do remember that being a thing, and I guess we adjusted it a little bit, you know?
Speak the speech I prithee, drippingly on the tongue.
He remembers stuff. That's why I do voice acting. I just read. I can't remember a line to save my life.
Well, particularly, it's really, when we were doing this, I said, yeah, it's 20 years ago. And we used to get, you know, at other conventions, like I did a show, Highlander.
Yes.
And we would get these questions, you know, like, well, you know, this, you know, like, Well, the sun was going down and we had to get out of there.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, well, that was in this moment, and wow, it was just it was a mistake.
Yeah, it's often better not to reveal. Just let the fantasy live.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi guys, big fan of Beast Wars, but this question is for Jim, and it comes from my best friend who's back in Pittsburgh. She's a big fan of your work, but especially your Highlander work and your music, and she's curious if you have any upcoming projects that you're doing with like Liz or Peter or any of the cast, and any cool behind-the-scenes stories about that.
Peter is a doctor now. Peter has left the film business.
Right.
He went back to medical school, and he's working as an intern in San Diego. There is talk of a Highlander convention in Florida in December. I just got an email from one of Adrian's handlers about that, and I keep in touch with Adrian and Peter and Lizzie, and everybody's kind of, Lizzie's just put a book out, and like I say myself, I'm just mostly playing music and trying to keep going, but there is talk of now there's going to be there's this whole talk of a new a reboot of the original Highlander film, which they've been talking about for like 10 years now. But Lionsgate has bought it from Peter Davis, the Panzer Davis people, sold the franchise, sold the name of the franchise to Lionsgate. But they found out that Peter Davis, who is one of our producers and a disbarred lawyer, he didn't reveal to them that Canal Plus and Gaumont Television in France also own like 25% of the franchise. So that once again has kind of been a bit of a what's going to happen, but that's what I know. Okay.
Yeah. And love your music.
Thank you.
Hey guys.
Hello.
Thanks for coming out. It's a question for Jim. So, back to Beast Wars. The bit where Inferno mistakes Megatron for the queen of his hive, possibly the funniest running gag in the show. It's a hilarious show, so that's saying a lot. Was wondering where that idea came about, if you can recall, if it was in the original script.
We played it to death because it was so. Just the idea of being a fire ant or a bee or whatever. They're in nature, they go to the queen, right? And so once I had that line and I got such a kick out of it that we just said, let's milk this to death. Yes, my queen.
We all appreciate that.
Think of Megatron. It was so funny.
How did David Kaye feel about it?
Well, David, he is a queen, so we're all very open. Boy, I hope that hits the internet. I'll get a call.
Ian, I understand. Not that it bothers me, but
That's my dad, David Kaye, appreciate.
Hi, it's great to see you. I've been a big fan of both of your work for both a long time. Touched on the Highlander stuff already. I was going to ask you is like, what was the best fight scene that you've seen Adrian perform, or do you have a particular favorite?
Well, I think they worked so. I got to say about Adrian that this guy worked as hard as anybody I've ever seen in any kind of job. He was so dedicated to that, and just keeping himself in shape and the work they did and the choreography. But I think that, what's the name of Duende? Is that the time when he and Anthony DeLongis have that sword fight within the ring, and I think that is in terms of the choreography and in terms of the definition of the work that they did. I think that's one of the greatest fight scenes, or sword fight scenes that I've ever seen. It beats the hell out of Basil Rathbone or Errol Flynn, I'll tell you that. But the first season, the first two seasons, we had this guy Bob Stewart, who was the master at arms, and Bob, in fact, had been in the business forever and had directed those scenes, like in Robin Hood and Captain Blood and all that stuff. And he knew Errol Flynn, and the stories he had, were as great as the fights that he that he choreographed. You know, those were some heady days. You know, when we were working in France, because we would shoot half a show in Vancouver and half a show in Paris. When we were working in France, you know, at lunch, wine with lunch is you got to have it. In fact, at one point, the producer, they tried to say, well, there can't be any more wine at lunch, and all the French crew went on strike. Right? and so all the fights were in the morning. Because, you know, a few glasses of wine swinging those swords around could get, could get dangerous, if you know what I'm saying.
And keeping in theme with the fighting, Ian, my question is for your Goku days as in Dragon Ball Z.
Yes. Are we in Canada? Dragon Ball Z?
Oh, sorry, Dragon Ball Z.
That's all right. That's all right. For those of you who don't know, I was the original voice of Goku.
I guess what was your longest session that you had to scream the line?
Well, I don't know if there was a longest, but there was so much frickin' screaming in that series, and you know, not the least of which was Kameya. You know the rest. And it got to the point. I'll just tell you this story. I won't get too much into union matters or really awful producers, but in that era, we were having some union shakeups in Canada, but specifically BC. So it was like the Wild West, and someone had pulled out a contract and went, you know, this is, they didn't call it dubbing, they called it like ADR, which is really, the contract was made for something like if you're doing the Highlander and you've recorded everything and you go, oh, you know what, we're missing a line there, and you bring the actor back in, he comes in, it's a small session fee, because you've already been paid to do a big show, right? So they really kind of butchered up this pay scale, and very long story short, the producer said, you know, we would get kind of paid by the line, and I hated doing this, but you really had to hold this producer's feet to the fire. Like, I'd sit there with a notepad and be doing like 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 5 lines, 1, 2, and then I would count them up at the end, and then I'd look at the contract and be like, half. Why is my number so much different? Oh, well, you don't get paid for vocalizations. And they were counting these screams as vocalizations. And I went, I'm not getting paid for that? That's the worst part. So then I started saying, well...
So you started screaming.
Oh yeah, then I was really screaming. And I said, yeah, you know what? If I'm not getting paid for it, I'm not going to do it. And you can let the Japanese guy do the screaming. And they didn't like that. So that's one of the main reasons I kind of stopped doing Goku. But it was, I mean, those are hard. Like, it's really, really hard. And I became known, I mean, I've heard all sorts of percentages. It's folklore. It's the 75% rule. And I hear this from fans at conventions. They go, hey, tell us about the 60% rule, or tell us about the 50% rule. And what it is I have a personal rule that I've told like younger actors. I said, 75%, that's all you give. Because you need, like if you're screaming and you're doing it at 100%, you're gonna die. And you won't be able to work the rest of the day or tomorrow. So keep it at 75, and you can boost it a little bit when you really need to. It's, I mean, all of this is just kind of fake, but it sounds like I'm lazy. Oh, Corlett only wants to work 75% effort, you know, but it's not. It's all about just keeping your voice sounding. There's a long answer.
That's not good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jim? Hi.
Hey, question here for Ian. When you were on Reboot and came in for season 3 to replace Michael Bettner for Bob there,
yes.
And then when you did the season 4 stuff and you got to work alongside him.
Yeah, wasn't that weird?
What was that whole? I guess how did that come about? What was that whole experience like?
Well, after Michael got over being really angry, no, he wasn't. It was just really weird. Do you want to know the story behind that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. There's a famous story of, Reboot it became this phenomenon. It was the first CGI animated TV series, and it was awesome. And it was not lost on Michael that he was the star, like he was Bob. And there was some issue, I don't know what it was, stuff happens, scheduling or whatever. And sometimes, producers and actors get kind of like at each other. And I remember Michael said, this is a really famous quote in the business up there, or over in Vancouver. And the quote is, "You can't fire me, I'm Bob." And then he got fired. Because the producers, these Englishmen, were volatile. Like sometimes they were really, really like, I'm not sure if it was chemical or what, but anyway, they were pretty excitable. So when they heard that was like, it was like shark bait. Oh, we can't fire you. So they immediately fired him. And it wasn't that bad to get fired, but whatever the issue was. So anyway, he's gone. And then they rewrote this storyline going, well, we'll put Bob in the mainframe and chew him up, and they're going to fill him full of viruses, and he's going to come out looking just the same and sounding just a little different. And thank you, because I got the job. And then they made up, and then he came back, and then, which Bob is it? Is it this Bob, this Bob? And so it was fine. But it was, wasn't all that fine for Michael when he got canned, but he came back.
Thank you.
True story.
Hey guys, just wanted to say, Jim, I was a big fan of Inferno growing up. Still one of my favorite characters. My question was for Ian. Now, I just wanted to know.
We'll get back to Highlander.
I just wanted to say, I don't know, but was there any difference in going from the recording booth and the tone and atmosphere from going from Beast Wars to Beast Machines?
None.
Oh, okay.
None. This, I was talking to Philip, my, I keep calling them handlers, because it feels like they're like this. But they're the guy that's helping me here today, Phil, about this very thing. And I know it's quite a divisive issue amongst fans, like, do you like Beast Wars or do you like Beast Machines? And no, this one's the right one. I'll just tell you, I really like Beast Machines. And I liked it because they were really good about coming in and showing us stuff. Because the turnaround was a lot quicker than traditional animation. So we'd be on, episode 6 or something and go, hey guys, come on in, we're gonna show you what we're doing. And when I saw Beast Machines on the big screen in the studio, I just went, wow, that looks awesome. Because it looked like a shadowy comic book come to life. It's no comment on the storyline, because I'm an idiot. And I just go, I don't know, space, the jungle? Where are my lines? I'm a dummy. But visually, I really, really, really liked it. So that's my 2 cents. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. And, we were working a lot of the same actors in the same studio, so there was a very, it was the transition was negligible, really, in terms of just, we're finding a different voice for a bit of a different character. And like you said, but yes, indeed, being shown what some of the stuff we're doing was really, I think, helpful in terms of what we were able to do. Because so many times you go in there and, like you say, it's like, you have no idea. You're just reading this stuff, you're reading out loud, and hopefully they say, okay, good.
Yeah, but because it was being produced in Vancouver and we were recording it in Vancouver, and the speed at which CGI could be done, it was a really, really unique experience.
Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
Hi. Do you have any advice for aspiring voice actors who are trying to get into the industry? Not that I want to steal your jobs, but just
No. Advice. Where do you live?
Here in Mississauga.
Okay.
Toronto.
So you're in a good major center. That's in your favor. The most important thing that I would suggest is learn how to act. Don't focus on the voice or the funny voice or the silly voice or the crazy, listen to my voices. Learn how to act, and that means plays, workshops, anywhere you can take a class. That's step one, and then there's lots of detail about voiceover specifically after that.
Yeah, and then once you've got some of that training, you need a good agent.
Yeah.
This is thing like people ask me in music too. Well, you got to have a manager because it's it's different. Not a manager in this in the voiceover thing, but the proper agent, somebody that you can get along with, and someone that will work for your side. But it's what Ian said about acting is so important because I started out in theater. When I was a kid to do the voice. They said, "Well, Jim, you can speak pretty well." So I did the voice, and suddenly I had something I put on tape and give to people. And the agent said, "Oh, we'll start sending it around and work with it."
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, I just have 2 quick questions, if that's okay. The first one
Only
is...
one.
Oh, okay. Okay. We all know that Beast Wars has some of the best writing out of all the Transformer TV shows. Was there any lines that you yourselves contributed originally to the show, or a line that sticks out in your head as really good?
For the royalty!
And of course, mine have to be, "Hey, Big Bot," or "Ultra Gear." And I didn't really, there's not a whole lot of ad-libbing. I'm sure, we did, but
they erased it all.
That's a long time ago. Mostly I remember the stuff in between the lines, My favorite line was, "Gary!" He's
my finger.
Yeah, stinky man. And then it was followed by, "Jimmy!" Because he nicknamed me Jimmy because my middle name's James. So we were always getting okay, are you talking to me or Jim?
And the second question is for you, Ian. You say the line, "What's New Pussycat" a lot. Did someone on the writing team really like the song "What's New Pussycat" by Tom Jones?
Must have. And I loved it. I love saying that line. That was great.
Okay, thank you both.
Thanks.
I heard somebody doing that song at karaoke last night.
So my question is, have there been any scrapped parts of a Beast Wars episode that you've done voice acting for that you liked?
Did you say scrap parts?
Yeah, scrapped.
You mean sort of like outtakes?
Yeah, and deleted scenes.
I'm sure there's lots, but they don't really, because it's not a filmed show or a taped show. You wouldn't see any, but there's got to be reels because at the end of every season, often we'll have a little hey, end of season shindig. Those don't happen very often anymore. Everyone's got the money, but they'll put together what's called a gag reel. And some editor who has been sitting on the other side of the glass listening for the whole thing has gone, "Oh, that's a good one." And that they take notes and go, "Oh, Gary's farting. Okay." "Oh, Gary's burping." And then they have to choose through about 60 of those. No, but so we would hear stuff like that, but I don't have anything I can reference, really.
No, like I say, we did there's gag reels from Highlander and from Wise Guy and everything, but as far as what we did with Beast Wars, although there was plenty of gags going on, we never did any of that stuff. Sorry.
Yeah.
Good question.
Thanks.
Okay, 5-minute mark.
When you're reading a script, I imagine when you're reading a script and you have a character for a couple of years, you get kind of attached to them. Do you ever have a point when you're reading a script and you see something your character does and you're like, "Oh, honey, no"?
You'd have to actually care. I just had to. Yeah. No, I can't think of anything. I know it's happened, but I don't have any specific examples myself.
Yeah, not so much. I mean, in theatrical or the television work, in the cartoon world, it's a bit different because I mean, it's so make believe that you know you can say, okay, this can conceivably happen. This person could have had a psychotic breakdown, and now it's completely different than they were last week. Whereas, I mean, I can tell you, and you know, a lot of arguments that would go on when we were doing a couple of different shows for television, where I mean, it'd be shut down over one actor saying, "I can't say this, I can't do this." Great story. This is not but you know, the show, the movie Marathon Man, Laurence Olivier and Dustin Hoffman. You know, Dustin is famous for being hard to work with, and on and on they've been doing shooting the scene all night, and going blah blah blah. And Dustin was saying, "No, he wouldn't do this. I can't. You know, how could this happen?" And it may be apocryphal, but Larry Olivier said to him, "Dusty, try acting."
That's good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to make this the last.
And you are going to be the last question.
All right. I just remembered both of you guys both appeared in G.I. Joe Extreme.
Ooh, yeah.
And that, I think, might have been the first ever thing cartoon recorded in Vancouver. What was the first recording session like, working with all these other actors like that, like practically working from the ground up, essentially?
It was the early days of radio, that's for sure, and it was awesome. And that was such a weird casting for me, because as I just said, my comfort zone is kind of like goofy, weird little characters. And in that show, which is like one of the first roles I ever did, I played Naugahyde, who was this gigantic, muscle-ripped Australian. Yeah, I mean, look at me. Exactly. So here Mr. Nebbish walks into this, "Hey, can you lower the mic, please?" and then I did, "Oh, I'm Naugahyde, I'll beat you to smithereens." You know, and it was really fun. And had we known then that I mean, I grew up watching cartoons, and I mean, I was an animator. I made student films. I was like, cartoons were really my life. And when this opportunity came to Vancouver and we started building this little thing that became giant, my idols were like Dawes Butler, and of course everyone says Mel Blanc because he's so well known. But I loved old radio and those character actors, and I'm really, really honored, really, truly touched that so many people now view us, like our community of Vancouver voice actors, as the voices of their childhood. And I just go, it's like, that's what I used to think of, like those guys down in Los Angeles who were Frank Welker, for goodness sakes. And now we're those people, and it's still like, really? I can't believe it. So thank you. Thank you.
Thanks to everyone.
Unfortunately, out of time. Big hand for our guests.
Hey, one more for the interwebs. What are we gonna do? What? Beast Wars on 3? Okay, you ready? 1, 2, 3.
Beast Wars!
Dun, 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 dun,
Their autographs are available outside of the dealer room. Our next panel coming up is the costume contest. Thank you all for coming. Talk to you soon.
Apparently Inferno was in his diet.
gizmos are for.
Delivery drop a certificate of authenticity for their Generation 1 Megatron. Done today. We have found it.
Jumping gyros, what happened to you?